Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Thank you for tuning into another Supatease video. And there have been lots of updates coming through, and there has now been the 2-month breaking point of patch 9.2 and season 3 of Shadowlands PvP. So I just wanted to cover some of my thoughts on the meta, how things are evolving and unfolding as I go through and open my weekly vaults on my characters here. In the most recent round of updates, which I will have linked at the end of this video if you want to see the exact specifics, we did see some buffs towards Outlaw Rogues, Affliction Warlocks, and Arms Warriors specifically that were standing out. Outlaw Rogues in particular, I think, are on the rise. You're going to see a lot more of them now, especially in 2 versus 2, as their survivability is unparalleled. If you want to pick a spec of rogue that is never going to die, then really you're going to be wanting to pick the Outlaw Rogue. You can get away with a lot of stuff and go unpunished in a lot of situations. So definitely would be a big recommendation from me personally to you to pick up the Outlaw Rogue if you haven't already at this point. This week in particular is a really excellent week to come back to the game because the conquest cap is massive and the creation catalyst is now completely unlocked. So while I'm looking at these items on my mage and contemplating what I really want to go after here, which is unfortunately looking like almost nothing, so I'm a little bit tilted, but I may in fact actually just go for a socket anyways, with the conquest cap being so large, and just farm some solo shuffles instead. Frost Mage is another specialization, speaking of which, that I'm looking at logged in right now, that you're definitely going to want to be checking out or picking up to play with, especially if you're a Warlock player. That specific synergy is definitely prevalent. We're seeing a little bit of Arcane Mage popping up. I'm sure that some of you have seen the Arcanospheres. I think there was a unprecedented 200,000 critical strike with Arcane Mage. So if you really want to go YOLO and full all in on Arcane, there's a lot of meme options for it, but I wouldn't necessarily say that it's kind of the hyper competitive spec at the moment, with Fire being so powerful in Rogue Mage, as well as Frost being so powerful in Mage Lock. Balanced Druid, I think, is another spec that's kind of an underdog, maybe potentially underrated, especially since the recent nerfs to Assassination, which were specifically difficult for Balanced Druids to deal with, that spec in particular. I've been having a lot of fun on my Balanced Druid, pushing up now into the 2700 bracket, playing with a variety of specs, feeling decently flexible amongst all of the different options that I have available to me. So it's definitely a spec that I think is underrated and worth checking out at this point in time. For myself here, I think I'm going to be going for a socket once again because I'm pretty close to full geared. Although these shoulders I could convert to tier, I can also just buy the shoulders and convert them to tier, and then put a socket in something else. So I think I'm personally going to be going for the socket on this and getting pretty close to completely unlocking this character's power at this point. For me, this week was a really big deal for my mage, who again unfortunately didn't really get too much, and my warrior. And speaking of warrior, with the Arms Warrior buff, probably not enough really to put Arms Warrior kind of back on the map. It's still prevalent with things like Ret Warrior is what I'm seeing it a lot of the times, but often Fury is the substitute in almost all of the compositions. See a little bit of Hunter Fury Warrior onto the ladder if you're looking for compositions to check out with it, or Death Knight Warrior. This is particularly a popular one and is very powerful. Definitely a composition you need to try, and with Death Knights being in such a good position with their Abominations limb, you're going to have a good time, no doubt. Looks like I did not cap a lot on my warrior this week, unfortunately, so this is not looking like a great week to grab really anything for it, with only unlocking 2 attendant tokens. It's not going to be a socket. You need 6 of these to get a socket, so a little bit upset about this, but again, I can just buy all the conquest gear with my warrior now pretty much at this point, and I can convert and finally complete my tier set bonus, which Fury Warrior is just so dependent on. So after I've got this 4-piece, I'm going to give this a run, likely to have a lot of fun. Been playing Venthyr Fury Warrior, although I think Necro is likely better, just to try and get consistent damage out with Condemns extending Recklessness, and then the Rampage proccing Legendary for more sustained damage, because that's just the way that I like my characters to feel and play. And speaking of sustained damage, moving on to the next character that we've got here for the vault, is the Enhancement Shaman. The Enhancement Shaman is a ton of fun. I know a lot of people have been coming into my stream and telling me that they've watched my Enhancement Shaman recommendation videos, playing it and having a really good time with it. This is a spec that kind of just stands on its own 2 feet now. Strong support for its team, good damage output, good burst damage, good well-rounded utility. You're always going to need to be improving your awareness to land wind shears and grounding totems and hit these timings. So you've always got something to grow and learn on with the specialization, and it's in a solid spot, although your options in threes can sometimes be limited. I really only see Enhancement Shaman playing with warriors, but now since that Fury or since that Arms Warrior buff, maybe you're going to see them a little bit more frequently. Affliction Warlock definitely could be on the rise this week with their 4% damage buff. Curious to see how many people are going to switch from Destro to Affliction to try and give it a go here. And what am I looking at for gear here on my Enhancement Shaman? Unfortunately, looking like it's going to be a socket this week for him as well, but still not that bad. Again, with Conquest being so huge, I'm going to be able to buy my 4-piece as well. And with the 4-piece, I'm thinking about shifting my legendary up, because the 4-piece focuses so heavily around feral spirits that the Wolf Bones, Witch Doctor's Wolf Bones, is looking like a really good option as a legendary. I've been flexing between Lava Actuators and the Flame Shock Critical Strike legendary to get more Chain Harvest crits. That one's really fun just to fool around with, but only really good when you can get multiple Flame Shocks. The same goes for Lava Actuators. And when you can't get multiple Flame Shocks, I'm thinking that I'm going to be wearing the Witch Doctor's Wolf Bones to get even more sustained damage, more cooldown reduction, more Spirit Wolves out on the fight, and see what I can really do with that. But Enhancement Shaman, really flexible. Talked a lot about it in my other videos, so make sure you check it out. It's definitely a spec that is worth your while. And then finally, we're moving on to the Holy Paladin. I honestly haven't been having the most fun as a Holy Paladin, and maybe that's just a healer in general right now, trying to readjust to the amount of damage that is currently available from cooldowns and set bonuses that all stack together. If you're not well coordinated, likely with some weak auras and with a lot of pre-planning and experience, you're probably going to have a really tough time healing in this patch right now. But at the same time, being a healer is going to open up your options a lot more when it comes to finding partners and friends and queues. So still, although it's really tough, I would definitely recommend it if you are struggling to be able to find partners or find queues at this time. Looks like my Paladin's not going to be getting any sorts of upgrades this week unless I want to shift my stats around. And I'm still running Kyrian over Necrolord. This was mainly because I don't have the Necrolord Renown leveled up, and the set bonuses were really tough to get, and without them it didn't feel worthwhile. I'm probably still going to stick with Kyrian here on my Holy Paladin, despite everybody else being Necrolord and it being so powerful, just simply because I don't want to level the Renown. I'm really hoping that they're going to introduce in the catch-up systems to get Renown to a higher point, because it just seems so trivial, especially where the density of Renown rewards is currently allocated. It's not towards the content that I'm just kind of doing on my own login and my own playthroughs day to day, so it's really tough to get, and I don't want to be playing at a disadvantage in those areas as well to have a chance of not being able to get those Renown upgrades. But the Holy Paladin, like I said, I've been doing the 2400 challenge, which is the 2400 arena rating in 3v3 on all classes. I've done Druid and Warlock. Holy Paladin is the one that I'm trying to do it as Kyrian, even in a Necrolord world at the moment. It's going to be a bit of a struggle, but other than that, I hope that you enjoyed this update, and I will have a link to that video with all of the specific changes. And if you want to make sure that you never miss a beat when it comes to changes like that, then make sure you hit the subscribe button, because I do my best to bring those to you in real time here in the channel. Other than that, thank you very much for watching the video, and I will catch you in the next one.